is Powertrax and the Renegade TNT Monster Truck Challenge.
Powertrax presents the most powerful sport on earth, the Renegade's TNT Monster Truck Challenge. Powertrax is brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck.
Welcome to Powertrax, where we're back in St. Paul, Minnesota. The first time we were here to kick off the 1989 season, it was the debut of the new Bigfoot driver, Andy Brash. And Army Armstrong, his debut was a successful one. He not only knocked off the hottest driver from the end of the '88 year, Steve Dane and Awesome Kong, but he also beat the current national champion, Rod Litzau, in USA-1.
Well, he bumped off Awesome Kong, Richard, but it was that close, as you know. Keep an eye on Kong, but also let's keep an eye on this kid out of Virginia. The new Gravedigger's out. Anderson's trying to find the right combination. This might be the day he does it.
And we cannot forget the defending national champion, Rod Litzau, in USA-1. They are from right here in St. Paul, Minnesota. First round action coming up next on Powertrax and ESPN. And welcome back to Powertrax, St. Paul, Minnesota, where Army, already this evening we have got some major stories breaking. We'll get to those in just a moment. First of all, let's run down the pairings as we've got them in the Civic Center. Bigfoot, your top qualifier, will get a bye run tonight to Andy Brash, trying to make it 2 wins in a row. Then Mad Man takes on Gentle Ben. Following that competition, Dave Weisstorick and Nightlife against the Terraduster. Then we're going to see Awesome Kong and Steve Dane out of Killeen, Texas against Rebels Revenge. Master of Disaster, Doug Spanier aboard, takes on Night Stalker. And that is our first round of competition. But now let's go to the major stories. And it is the word all drivers hate to hear, breakdown.
You know, qualifying this afternoon was so tough. As we look at the replay from earlier day's activity, the Gravedigger, Dennis Anderson, could not get it to go in gear. They stayed up all night long trying to get the transmission ironed out on the brand new setup. It just wasn't to be. The Renegade official was right there, giving him all the time he could take, but Anderson indicates he's not going to make it, gives him the shutoff signal, Richard.
And you know, already this year, this is our second contest of the year on the Renegade circuit, and Dennis Anderson of that new Gravedigger has yet to make it to a show.
Yeah, but believe me, all these guys are watching. They know when he gets it dialed in, he's going to be there. Then Barely Tame came out. Keep an eye on the right front wheel. Again, this footage coming from earlier qualifying. The right front spindle breaks right there on impact. That eliminated him from the competition.
Of course, Barely Tame, driven by Mike Brash out of Albany, Minnesota, one of the hometown guys with problems. A 79 Ford he brought on the circuit this year with him, powered by a Chevrolet 427 big block engine, but also now Barely Tame out of the competition. He joins Gravedigger, not performing tonight. And then, I guess, the biggest story tonight concerns our defending national champion.
Defending national champion and hometown boy, in this case, a tough break. The USA-1 Chevrolet, carrying a red, white, and blue, made a real good qualifying shot in the first half. But I want you to notice the left front wheel. You notice it turns sideways. A tough break, what they call the steering knuckle, broke on the left front. He will not be in competition this evening, Richard. Still looking for that evasive first win in '89.
And you know, we've already had one show of 1989. It was in St. Paul. USA-1 went up against the new driver of Bigfoot, Andy Brash, and got beat. I know Rod Litzau wanted to come back in this show and bring out a win for his hometown folks.
Well, the people are really getting behind him. You don't know. It's a tough break. Like I said, I actually believe Litzau's under too much pressure, Richard. As Andy Brash gets his bye run for quick qualifying time with the awesome Bigfoot, we told you the story. Bob Chandler brought this young man back from California to drive this truck. Since Rich Hoosier is retired, he's run one time, he's won one time.
Well, he makes his bye run in fine fashion, does not break down. He'll move on into the competition. And we are ready now to go door-to-door, side-by-side racing. Jeff Zimmerman and the Mad Man at the 1979 Dodge will take on Al Spencer and Gentle Ben out of Indianapolis. Gentle Ben is a 77 Chevrolet.
Chevrolet will be working the left lane. Dodge will be coming out of the right lane. Now, this Dodge truck runs a small engine, 440 cubic inch wedge engine. Meanwhile, the Chevrolet runs a big block engine, sitting in that left lane. Starting line's going to be so crucial as the Dodge gets the jump, Richard. The Chevrolet having all kind of problems. Dodge looks like he'll take a win.
for Jeff Zimmerman, the Mad Man, the Dodge. And an interesting thing, Army, this is only Jeff's second race in his entire career.
Tell you what, the young man may have a future here. We're going to have a replay of that run to give you some idea of some of the problems they've been having. We're trying to figure out what's causing these vehicles to break. Notice the cars they're going over. There's a lot of sponge in them, a lot of bounce, and that is what's throwing these vehicles off. The Madman himself crossed the finish line and immediately hooked real hard to the left.
So that is going to be the story we're going to have to keep our eye on. And it seems like they're having the most difficulty, Army, approaching the second set of junk cars as Mark Wheeler out of Aurora, Nebraska, the driver of the Terraduster. It's a 79 Plymouth. You don't see a lot of those on the monster circuit. He'll be taking on a dandy and Dave Wysorick, a nightlife. Dave, of course, out of Grand Island, Nebraska. He drives an 87 Chevrolet.
Wysorick making a name for himself in this sport. He's a young up-and-comer. Keep an eye on him. He'll be working the right lane in a Plymouth truck. Works the left lane. Chevrolet out like a shot. Wysorick will have no problem. He's going to advance. Richard, we said it earlier this year. Keep an eye on the nightlife. He is a comer in the sport.
Dave Wysorick wins it. I was talking to him earlier today, Army. I said, what's the biggest event of your life, the biggest show you ever did? He said, one of my biggest accomplishments, last year I beat Bigfoot 3 straight times, and he'd love to beat him again tonight if he gets the chance as we get ready for the guy we have now nicknamed the Flying Texan, Steve Dane, Awesome Kong, the hottest driver at the end of 1988. And he is going to be facing one of the new guys on the circuit. It's Bill Jones, Rebel's Revenge. It's an 86 Chevrolet out of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
You know, the Chevrolet people kind of get behind this truck, and I tell you why. It is not powered by Chevrolet. It's powered by a Chrysler engine. You notice Al Goss, our flagman, Richard, coming over what we call the kill boxes. Remember, each of these vehicles, when they run, as a matter of fact, he's handing Dane his right now, have an electronic kill box. It's operated for safety on the end of the tracks. If something go wrong, immediately they hit a button and shut these vehicles off. Back to you from some more action, Richard.
All right, so we're ready to go. This is round one, side-by-side racing. Look for Steve Dane to sky high. He normally does. Right about now.
Texas Air Force lands in St. Paul, Minnesota. Look at all the air he gets, Richard.
Another landing with another win for Steve Dane and Awesome Kong as he moves on into the competition. But once again, even Steve Dane, Army, having trouble keeping control of this vehicle.
You know, the way that he gets over his problems is he doesn't really worry about driving over the crushed vehicles. He flies over them, literally. That way he doesn't have to worry about it.
That's one way to solve a problem, isn't it? Well, Bill Jones, Rebel's Revenge, a nice show, but not enough to come back. We'll be back with more first-round competition on Powertrax in just a moment. Powertrax continues from St. Paul, Minnesota. This is round one competition. And coming out next to face each other, one of the most beautiful vehicles I think you'll ever see on the entire circuit. We'll give you a close-up here soon of the side of this truck. But it's Doug Spanier, the master of disaster out of Albany, Minnesota. That's an 89 Chevrolet, and he's going to be taking on Night Stalker. Steve Combs out of Wisconsin, a 79 Ford. So here we go, Army, our first Ford against Chevy matchup.
Well, the Ford's going to have his hands full. The Chevrolet, Doug Spanier, definitely believes he has the truck to beat this evening. He believes this truck is just as good as USA-1 Bigfoot and Awesome Kong. He is going to show right now what this truck can do. And as you said a moment ago, looking at these trucks, some of the graphic artwork on these trucks, beautiful. Chevrolet on the left lane, Ford in the right lane. Let's see what's going to happen. Spanier says he can run with the best of them. He's got to prove it right now, Richard.
Pretty even at the start, but coming off now. Boy, it stays tight. I cannot tell the winner, Doug Spanier. Doug Spanier and the Chevrolet nips him at the line. Steve Combs and Night Stalker with a good run. Don't be surprised to see him come back as a fast loser, but your winner in this matchup, the Chevrolet of Doug Spanier and Master of Disaster.
Richard, real quick, the track crew, in the case of an event like that, there is a camera at the finish line. The track crew goes back and replays it. Now, to my eye, I couldn't tell who won, but they have a replay, and they stutter step the frame to actually tell who takes the win. A photo finish, if you will.